You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Rays podcast. Kevin Weiss alongside Ulises Sambrano. And this Friday episode, we are pleased again to be joined by Aram Leighton, the founder of JustBaseball.com. Aram, spring training, it's unveiled. Games are going to be happening very shortly. This has got to be, you've got to be through the moon that baseball season is back and you're able to really dive into everything.
I've been so excited. I came straight down to Florida. Been going to the backfields already. There's just nothing like it, man. We were talking about it before we hit record, but just like you get out to the fields, you hear the crack of the bat, and it just brings you right back. It's something special. So I'm pumped up. I'm sure you guys are too. A lot to be excited about with this Rays team and just another MLB season. This offseason, I think, went as quick as any I can remember, and I'm grateful for that.
Right, for sure. And, you're very busy. You have a lot going on with justbaseball.com. So I don't want to skip ahead too much, but I just want to get your take on a couple things before, if we don't catch you before the season starts or mid-season, whenever it is. As of today, who would you bet money on to win the World Series in 2024?
Ooh, okay. So here's my question. Is it based on like what's worth the payout? Like what's the best value?
No. Okay. Yeah. I should frame it better. Who do you think really, you can take betting out of it, who's going to win the World Series in 2024?
So the obvious answer would be the obvious answer would be the Dodgers, and like that's lame. But obviously that team is just
okay. If not the Dodgers,
stacked.
Then, yeah.
But to give you a less lame answer,
yeah.
I'm looking at the Houston Astros, man. I know like Rays fans are probably just like about to turn me off, but I'm going to be honest. Like I got to be honest with it. That is a really talented team that, look, they were fractured last year. They did not have Christian Javier pitching at the best of his ability. They did not have Framber Valdez pitching at the best of his ability. Jose Abreu couldn't have been much worse. They didn't have Altuve for a good portion of the season. Then when he came back, he was unbelievably good. They were running Martin Maldonado out there because Dusty Baker, for whatever reason, just would not stop playing him, even though Yainer Diaz was one of the best rookies in the game. So you got him now back. I think Hunter Brown's going to be a lot better this year. You add Josh Hader to that bullpen. I think that three-headed monster in the back of the bullpen is as scary as any. And you guys know, Rays fans know as much as anybody, how much an elite back end of the bullpen can really just shorten games and really get you on a winning streak pretty quickly and be able to preserve leads better than anybody else. Like the Rays have done that through some of the best teams. They've had starters that are 5 and dive and then hand it off to an elite bullpen and it works. And I think the Astros will be similar to that mold, but they also have a really loaded offense that, I think is only going to be better this year.
Okay. And you mentioned 2 picks for World Series winners. Moving on from that, MVP, who do you think wins the AL MVP and NL MVP?
Ooh. Okay. So I feel like at this point, we're in a spot where as long as Aaron Judge is healthy, like what is that guy now? He was on a pace to do what he did in 22 again in 23. If he didn't jack up his toe on the concrete or whatever that was.
Yeah.
But I think Julio Rodriguez is gonna do something special this year. The fact that he referred to what he did last year as a sophomore slump
down year, yeah,
is just insane because it still wasn't even a bad year. The first half was not great, but he still had a really solid year. This lineup is a lot more deep now. There's a lot more talent in terms of like power throughout that lineup. They go get Polanco, they get Mitch Garver. I like a lot of the pieces that they've added to where, you're going to have to attack Julio Rodriguez a little bit more. And I also think the Mariners are going to be a threat this year. That's my dark horse, World Series team. I think this is finally the year where it all kind of comes together. I love the power that they added to the lineup, the pitching. We know how good the pitching is. And I think you combine the team performing at a higher level with, more protection through that lineup, more runs to be driven in for Julio. I think this is going to be a monster year for Julio Rodriguez.
And what about NL?
Okay, NL, it's really hard to pick anybody other than Ronald Acuna Jr. Like, but at the same time, like, you never know what can happen. I just feel like with what Ronald Acuna Jr. is capable of doing, he just seems to be on another planet. Like, Ohtani's not pitching this year, so he's gonna have to really, really, really hit to win it. Yeah. But I think Fernando Tatis Jr. has something to prove this year, and he's already a Platinum Glove winner in the corner, right? Like, so yeah, he's not playing shortstop anymore, but fringy shortstop to best defensive corner outfielder, arguably in the sport. We know he's capable of hitting 40 plus. We know that he can steal as many bags as anybody. That wrist issue was bad. I mean, like, the guy fell off a motorcycle, apparently twice, according to him. So, like, I mean, it took him a long time to get back from that wrist issue. And I don't even know if he fully had all of that, mobility and twitchiness back last year, and he still had a good year. I like to not just pick the favorite. Yeah. I think Tatis could do it this year.
That's nice.
But before we get into some race-specific discussion, just a couple more quick hitters. Aram, where does former Cy Young Award winner with the Rays and with the Padres, Blake Snell, where does he wind up?
So I could see a few different things happening here. The reports are that the Yankees have come in with an offer, but I always think it's funny how they have the exact number that the Yankees came in with. And I'm pretty sure that was reported by John Heyman, right? And we know Snell's a Boris client. And then we haven't heard really the exact numbers of any other area. So I don't think he ends up with the Yankees. I do wonder now that Kodai Senga is hurt, dealing with the shoulder issue. I know the Mets aren't really a World Series contender, but I mean, it's still a very talented roster. And I think Boris was about to be in some trouble and some hot water with the way he's approached this offseason. I think he might get bailed out here. I think the Mets are going to potentially just fork over some money for one of these guys, one of his clients between Montgomery and Snell. I wouldn't be surprised if they sneak in and pick up Snell, but I've been saying Giants all offseason, and I'm going to stick with it. And I think he wants to be on the West Coast ultimately. So I'm going to go with Blake Snell to the Giants.
Okay, we like that. We'd prefer him to go to the National League in the West Coast and the Giants versus the AL East and the Yankees. Ulises, before we discuss Brendan McKay.
Oh, actually,
yeah, go ahead.
Something big came up lately in the last 48, 72 hours. Anthony Rendon. Before we move on to Rays talk.
Okay.
I need to hear your take on this whole thing, because it just seems like what he is saying makes sense. But two things. One, you're not the right spokespersons to say this. And two, don't say it.
Yes.
I mean, we want transparency, as fans like, oh, who are you as a player? We want transparency. We get it. And, but maybe not from you. We need this type of transparency. What do you think?
So that's exactly what we got into on the Just Baseball show. I'm glad you brought it up, because I think everything he said is totally fair. There's a lot of players who share that sentiment. It's yes, we all dream of playing Major League Baseball, but 162 games, people yelling at you, a lot of pressure, being away from your family, traveling. It's not the same game that you had a blast playing in Little League or in high school. I'm sure they have a lot of fun a lot of the time, but it's a job, and it's an exhausting one, physically and mentally. So I get it. What he's saying is shared by a lot of people. It's just, you have to be aware of how you're perceived. And if you care at all about what your current perception is, then you should probably not say those things if you're Anthony Rendon, right? This is the same guy that's barely played. And when he has played, it's uninspiring. And when he's hurt, he doesn't provide updates. He ducks the media. He grabs fans by the shirt and tries to I don't even know. I don't even know what he tried to do there. But this is a guy that has historically already been questioned for his commitment to the game. If it's somebody that's putting up numbers and, like we were just talking about, Nikola Jokic, right? That guy's winning MVPs and he hasn't outright said some of the things that, Rendon alluded to, but if you're putting up numbers and you're competing every day and you're doing your job to the best of your ability, then I don't care how you feel about your job. But if you're not doing those things and then you come out and say that, then it becomes a little bit of hey, well, maybe you should care about your job a little bit more because you're not doing it very well right now. To me, Anthony Rendon is the equivalent of an edgy teen because he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was saying. He wanted to stir the pot. He wanted to get a reaction. He wanted to get people riled up. And for whatever reason, he gets off to that.
Attention, Mac and PC users. Backblaze is the ultimate cloud backup solution, which offers unlimited protection for how much? $99 a year. You can restore with ease in case of data loss, access your files from anywhere worldwide. Plus, the game changer, Restore by Mail. What is Restore by Mail? Well, I tell you, you get a hard drive shipped to your door, and you can try this risk-free for 30 days. There's a benefit from a year of file retention and version history. Over 55 billion files restored for satisfied customers. So today, go to backblaze.com/lockedonmlb and you can get a risk-free trial. Remember, backblaze.com/lockedonmlb. Your data safe with Backblaze. Does that mean that the Angels win less than 70 games this year?
I think they're going to lose a lot of games. I think that pitching staff is not good. The offense is fine, but I think Shanwell is going to back up a little bit at first base.
Who can protect my Trout? Anthony Rendon?
Anthony Rendon. It's not pretty over there. I think they're going to lose a lot of games. Yeah. I think they're going to struggle, and it's sad because I want to see Mike Trout play in the playoffs so badly.
We all do.
Yeah, he's only done it once, and that was.
Mike Trout has 9 at bats more than us 3 in the playoffs.
There we go.
9.
Not to his fault.
Yeah, for sure. He can't be a 75 WAR player or whatever it is. Well, hopefully the Rays win more than 70 games. I think they will. Ulises thinks they will, and I think Aram thinks they will as well. But Aram, where do you stand with the Rays entering the 2024 season as far as a benchmark win-loss record and the chances of them capturing the division title, knowing that it is the AL East and there's always competition, especially with the uprising Baltimore Orioles and acquiring Corbin Burns and making other moves here and there?
Yeah, I think what really works into the Rays' favor here is being in a division that, other than the Red Sox, who, of course aren't a total slouch, but other than the Red Sox, you can make the case that every single team in the division not only has a strong case to make the playoffs, but, is a team that you don't necessarily want to run into in the playoffs either. Even with what the Yankees have added and what they look like. And the Blue Jays, some moves I don't totally get, but they made some good ones. And then the Orioles, you mentioned it, getting Burns. Bradish is a tough blow, but, they're just loaded and they can go make whatever trade they want with that system. Look, I think the Rays benchmark every year is 90. I don't care what you look at the roster. It's always going to be good, but good in a nuanced way. But I feel like you look at it, the team that won 99 games last year. I don't know how, because there was times where we were wondering who's going to plug in and pitch, but that's how they always do it. You look at the offense. I'll ask you guys, would you put this lineup up there, assuming Caminero's up there, you got Mead potentially involved as well? Is this one of the better lineups you've seen, assuming health from the Rays in a while going into opening day?
I can tell you that 2021 was an amazing offense. 2023 was damn good. I just feel like 2024, maybe a little bit of a dip between those 2 years, but I am not for less than 3 or 4 years of the Rays' existence, I'm actually not worried about the offense. I don't know if you feel the same, Kevin.
No, I feel exactly the same way. Just Randy Arozarena, keep doing your thing. Yandy Diaz, keep doing your thing. Brandon Lau, stay healthy. Renee Pinto, we actually might have a catcher that can hit for a full season and beyond. And then Josh Lowe, I think, could really take a big next leap and big next step. I mean, he could be a 30-30 player and hit 280, 290 or something like that.
I think that's a guy that I was talking about nonstop from the first time I ever came on with you guys. That's a guy that's been one of my favorite prospects for a long time. And it was really awesome to see it all come together. Of course, you got to plug and play here at shortstop now, and you lose an MVP candidate. But at the end of the day, if you look at the production last year, like, yeah, it was good. Juan Franco was good, but 819 OPS. It wasn't like, he was competing for an MVP last year. And I know that it's hard to replace that value, but I look across the lineup. You mentioned having an upgraded catcher. I actually think Pinto's pretty good. Yandy Diaz you can pretty much pencil that guy in for
yes.
a 900 OPS, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned Lau, like I thought took a little bit of a step towards being healthy last year, 109 games. I think he could be a guy that ends up getting closer to what we saw when he hit, 39 home runs the 1 year. I think Siri is awesome, but I think Lowe takes another step forward. I think Paredes has really solidified himself as a solid piece, and Arozarena tapered off. Like, I think he could easily have a better season than he had last year. I don't know. I just look across the lineup, and then you think about the upside that you have with some of the young guys that are now close to big league ready, and a Caminero who could be a huge X factor lineup wise. The depth with an Aranda who could finally plug in and help. We mentioned Rosario being added there. I think Johnny DeLuca is extremely underrated. There's a reason why the Rays targeted him in that deal. He crushes lefties at the very least, which is the perfect platoon. You combine a Johnny DeLuca and a Josh Lowe, you got a really nice tandem there with the production that DeLuca will have against lefties and what we know Josh Lowe can do against righties, some speed. DeLuca can play all three outfield spots. I think this team easily can win 90 games. My concern is the pitching, but they always piece that together, and they've got some guys coming back.
I'm what a professional. Shane Baz and Brendan McKay, young guys that can possibly help out the rotation and the pitching. What can you expect from a guy who is a Brent Honeywell 2.0 and Brendan McKay, and a Shane Baz who, is the normal pitcher of the 21st century? Hey, I've got TJ. So what can you talk to us a little bit about these two guys making the return?
So I love that the Rays got Aaron Savali, because it's just like you needed just like a calming 4 ERA, like 3.8 to 4.2 ERA that is going to give you 140, 150 innings, maybe more than that, and just not be a liability or volatile. Because I love the upside that they have with these other arms. So to answer your question on Baz specifically, like, that guy could be a frontline starter if he's looking, healthy. And like you mentioned, it's a traditional injury, right? Like, it's what we're used to. Guys come back from that all the time. He should be just fine. He's had more than enough time to fully recover. I think you can expect him to be a solid middle rotation arm. Like, I really am expecting that. Maybe there's a little bit of growing pains, but like, I think he'll hit the ground running, at least relatively speaking. And then I think by the second half, he could be really, really solid. I mean, if a guy like Taj Bradley, you look at what he was able to do last year. I know the ERA wasn't great, but the underlying numbers were good. He still struck out more than 11 per 9. Like, I think he's going to be an elevated version of that at the very least. And that's all the Rays really need is a guy that can give them innings, which, I know he'll be on a limit, but he'll still be able to do that. And I think he can give them a mid threes, strike out plenty. And we saw how much more Baz was filling up the zone. I think he could be a really big piece for them this year. Sorry, who was the other guy you asked about?
Brendan McKay, the almost Rays version of Shohei Ohtani.
McKay, I have no clue.
That's fair. That's fair, because we haven't seen him in the mound since we were much younger. Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised he hasn't just like picked up the bat now.
Yeah, that's what I've said.
He could swing it. But, I think the Rays are looking at McKay as anything they get from him is gravy. It's house money, unfortunately. But Baz on the other side, I think they're expecting him to give them, 130 innings roughly, maybe a little bit more of,
interesting
mid-high threes. That's what maybe not expect. I think cautiously optimistic for. Like, I don't think that's a pipe dream. What that guy was doing in the minor leagues and the upper minors before, and then even through stretches in the bigs before going down, smoothing out that delivery, just overpowering dudes. The fastball shape was ridiculous. His whiff rates on the slider were off the charts. I mean, he can overpower guys if he looks like he did pre-surgery. And we see guys come back usually sometimes throwing even harder. He was averaging 96 miles an hour on the fastball, and that was probably while throwing through some elbow issues. And if you really take out that last terrible start before he went down, he was pretty darn good in his big league debut.
Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with winning $5 bet. That's 150 buckaroos if your bet wins. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with what they have: quick bets, live same game parlays, exclusive props, and so much more. So just go ahead and visit FanDuel.com/lockedon, LOCKEDON. I'll repeat it one more time for you. FanDuel.com/lockedon to shoot your shot today. FanDuel, they are the official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
No, he was. I feel like, it's they've been talking about like, oh, the progression is going to be slow. Maybe a mid-summer return. We were talking about maybe late May, maybe June. But you got me. I think you got us both, because we just had this conversation, and I think the FanGraphs projection is 102 innings, and I was like, no way. There's no way that he even touches triple digits. Kevin, I don't remember where you landed on.
Yeah, I think I was under that metric, but Aram makes really good points, and I guess this would be the time to roll him out there with Springs unavailable, McClanahan unavailable, Rasmussen unavailable. You might need a guy of his caliber that can come in and help out the team. I guess a follow-up question to all this with Shane Baz is, if he returns to a similar form pre-surgery, pre-injury, what is his potential? Where do you see him 5-10 years from now? Is it a number 1? Is it a number 2? Is it a Tyler Glasnow light? Where are you at with him?
I mean, I think it's a really solid number 2 starter. If he had a little bit more, and it's hard because, we haven't seen him throw in a while. If he had a little bit more consistency with the third pitch, I'd feel even better about it. But I think the potential is a really solid number 2 starter, or, a de facto ace, number 1 starter for like an average rotation. But you look at the numbers, what he's been able to do at each stop. 113 strikeouts to 13 walks in the upper levels is just ridiculous. But you guys bring up a good point too, like the return being a little bit slower than maybe we were hoping, and that the Rays were hoping. Like, they may be more careful with him, and it may be closer to 90, 100. I just feel like once he comes back, there's just going to be a lot of quality starts. He's been going 5, 6, maybe even 7 innings sometimes. And before you know it, those innings, they pile up quick. I saw it with Yuri Perez, man. Like, oh yeah, he's on an innings limit, and all of a sudden he's at 130, and it's like, whoa. They come up quick when you're throwing pretty well every 5th day. But I do think he could be a high end too, if it all comes together. And I think there's a good chance it all comes together.
Now, before we move on to baseball trivia and Name That War, we had this discussion with the two Shanes, Shane Baz and Shane McClanahan. Shane McClanahan, 2-time All-Star, de facto ace of the staff for 2 years, All-Star games, right? So a very quality starting pitcher, good quality, great quality. Do you think it's very out there to say that Shane Baz could be better than Shane McClanahan?
McClanahan at his peak was pretty freaking nasty. Like, when we're in 2022, McClanahan, we're looking like a mid-2s. Yeah. I think that's a lofty ceiling. Okay. Just because it's from the left side. But I don't think it's crazy to say that he can give you stretches of that. Like, I just don't know if he could do it for 165 innings at his peak like McClanahan did. Because McClanahan's ability to blend ground balls as well with it. Like, he's striking guys out, and then he's also getting, in 2022, I think it was like a 50% ground ball rate as well. Like, it's really rare to have K rates that high and a ground ball rate that high. Like, I think there's just something rare with McClanahan when he's healthy. But that said, like, Baz, I think, can give you stretches of that.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. All right. It is time for baseball trivia, Name That War. I actually do have a baseball trivia question for Aram that I came up with on the fly before Ulises, you prepared the war question. This trivia question revolves around the now Peter Bendix led Marlins. Aram, I bet you like to hear that phrase. Peter Bendix led Marlins.
Oh, yeah.
That must be a pretty good feeling for you as a Marlins fan and follower.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was at the backfield the other day. You just see there's a total change in the way that things are being done from a development standpoint. I'm just seeing more equipment, more equipment out there in terms of like, technology and tracking. Players already were telling me how they have more resources in terms of getting information from their bullpens, having a login for their own pitch data. Like that was not even something that they had as much in the past. Like the Marlins were pretty archaic from the development side, and Bendix coming from the Rays, like he is not going to ignore development, and it's been nice to see that.
Right, certainly. Well, with that said, I have in front of me a list of the top 10 career home run leaders in a Marlins uniform. And a little hint here, number 1 on this list has 267 dingers in a Marlins uniform. Number 10 on this list has 104. I want you to name 5 of these 10 names.
Oh, this is a good one. This is fun. Okay.
Yeah. You want to ping pong this?
Yeah. You want to go back and forth?
Yeah, you first.
All right, they make it 6 names, so you can get equal footing there.
Okay. I'll save the lower hanging fruit for you. I'll save the MVP, but I'll go Dan Uggla.
He is number 2 on this list with 154.
Let me go a little bit under the radar first. Hanley Ramirez.
Hanley Ramirez, number 3 on this list with 148.
Ooh, nice. All right, I'll take the layup. Mike / Giancarlo Stanton.
You would be correct. 267, the clubhouse leader.
Thank you for leaving me the Venezuelan bump. Miguel Cabrera.
Number 5 on this list with 138.
My all-time favorite. And then, okay, we could go a few different routes. Don't want to overthink it. I'll go Mike Lowell.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Lowell, number 4 on this list with 143. Very good.
I'm going to go with longevity. So Jeff Conine.
Ooh.
Jeff Conine, number 8 on this list with 120. Screw it. Try to name all 10. You've got 6 right now.
Who are we missing? Or sorry, not who are we missing. What numbers are we missing?
We're missing. 7, 8, 9, 10.
You're missing 6, 7, 9, 10.
6, 7, 9, 10. Oof. It's sad when there's just so many different. It's been such a revolving door,
right?
Which I know you guys can relate to a little bit. Or a lot of
it kind of looks like our home run leader list.
I'm trying to think of mainstays.
I'm trying to think of the years where no one really paid attention, but there was guys just putting up numbers still. In the early. But a lot of those guys, you look at the 97 World Series team, they had Sheffield bounced. They trade him. Yeah. Moises Alou traded. Preston Wilson traded. They had Mike Piazza for 2 games.
Derek Lee also traded after that.
Derek Lee's a decent one, though.
Do you like Derek Lee? I like Derek Lee.
Let's try it. Derek Lee.
Derek Lee is number 6 on this list.
Ooh, look at you.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Okay. I'm gonna just fire from the hip here. Cody Ross.
Strike 1.
That was good though. I like Cody Ross.
He was one of my favorites too. I'm gonna embarrass myself here if I don't get the rest.
Okay, come on, we got this. Mainstays. I'm thinking. Ooh, did Yelich play enough? You think?
Yelich played for a while. I don't know how many home runs he had. I'll go Marcelo Ozuna.
Strike 2.
Woo! All right, we got to protect, baby. We got to protect
myself on here.
We got to protect. How about, do you like Rays legend and Marlins legend Logan Lomo Morrison? Do you like that?
Lomo's not a bad one, but I don't know if he played enough.
God, I think he was a free agent when the Rays signed him, right? So he at least played 7 years.
He got sent to the minors with the Marlins 5 years in. It was a whole thing just because they were so mad at him. It was like he pissed people off kind of thing, which
He
was
was
crazy.
tweeting too much. That was his issue.
Oh yeah, he was like one of the original like.
Yeah, he was the
Twitter
original
guy.
like social media baseball influencers that active players that was speaking his mind.
True.
I'm sure Marlins fans are gonna clown me for this. I'm like,
I don't have another mainstay other than him and Yelich, really.
Okay.
Juan
Fair.
Encarnacion.
That would be strike 3. Okay, you guys are going to be kicking yourselves after
Oh
this.
no.
Oh,
Ruin
no.
my night,
Number
please.
7, you may have heard of him. The Hall of Fame voters don't like him. Gary Sheffield with 122.
Oh, so it was Sheffield. Damn, I thought he got
Yeah.
moved too quick. Damn.
Number 9 on this list, Marlin, of course. Also, Rays clubhouse legend and MLB Network commentator Cliff Floyd, 110. And then number 10 on this list, Aram did mention him,
Preston.
but didn't guess him. Preston Wilson with 104.
I mentioned Sheffield and Wilson. I thought they got moved too quick. To be fair,
Josh Willingham is not on this list. Jorge Cantu is not on this list either.
I was thinking Cantu too.
Even
Rays
that-
legend. I was like, so I think they played right before. I was born in '97. So,
Mhm.
but damn, I should have went with one of those two. They're too
I-
good. They put up too ridiculous numbers. They
We
get
should've
halfway
gone
there with
Sheffield.
one of their seasons.
Yeah.
Oh, and also the other guy that I probably would have thought of, he played first base, Mike Jacobs.
Yeah, well, he had that 1 year. He stood on his
Yeah,
head.
where he hit like 32 or
What's,
something.
so Leo Nunez, he was traded for Leo Nunez, and then he later went by Juan Carlos Oviedo because that was his real name. It wasn't actually Leo Nunez. Didn't he
True.
pitch for the Rays too a little bit or no?
I think so.
Or he
I
was
think
signed by
so.
them. At some
Yeah.
point.
Well, now I'm gonna have to look up Logan Morrison and how many home runs he hit with the Marlins because it's gonna bother me. Well, this is the part where we play Name That War. And if you haven't seen this segment before, anybody who's liking this video and subscribing on YouTube, this is where we take a player from the past and we try to guess their career WAR according to Baseball Reference, only using our Baseball Archive mind. Today's player, oh, you guys are gonna hate me for this. Ulises Bethancourt. What is
I remember that guy.
his career WAR according to Baseball Reference?
A name.
Do you want to go first, Aram, or do you want me to go? It's your call. You're the guest here.
You want to go ahead?
Sure. Maybe it'll give you some inspiration. I think
Run it down. Yeah, run it down. Do the math.
Bethancourt played. He's probably has his pension. Played 10, 11, 12 years. I think very average. Definitely did not make an all-star game. Probably didn't win a Gold Glove either. I'm thinking like an average line of like 260, 8 home runs. Bottle that up. I'm going to give you an 8. 8 career WAR for Bethancourt. That's all I got.
8.
Okay.
Oh man, that's tough. That's what I was thinking too. I'm gonna go a little higher. I'm gonna give him a little bit more credit.
Wait, hold up. Kevin, do not look this up. Hands up.
Don't look up his career WAR.
Do not.
Okay, I've not looked it up yet.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna go with. For some reason, when you mentioned him, the number 11.4 came in my head.
Okay.
Mm.
That's fair. He played for 9 years. Had a slash line of 261, 285, 388 for a 673 OPS. That's an 80 OPS plus. In 9 years, he had a total of 80 home runs.
I was like right on the money with that.
Yeah, he did not make an all-star appearance. No MVP votes. And his career WAR, this floored me, by the way. Negative 2.4. What?
He's like Mike
Oh
Jacobs.
my.
Negative
Negative
2.4.
WAR.
So you had the 0.4 correct, Aram, but you just had to go a bunch.
Just on the wrong side of zero.
Yeah, on the wrong. Yeah, it's a different integer. Negative
Oh
2.4.
my.
Can you guys believe that?
I would not believe that with that. Like if you hit 260 in the bigs, I would think at least you have.
How bad
Above
was
zero.
his defense? He played shortstop, he played first base and third base, but maybe not that well.
You guys are inspiring me for an article like who are the best players with a negative WAR, or like
Oh yeah, do it.
All right,
already
cool.
said it.
We will read it, my man. We will read
Jared
it.
Saltalamacchia, if I'm not mistaken, had a negative WAR in his career too.
Wow. That's
very close. It's sub 5.
Whew. Yeah, those are interesting. Well, Aram, thank you again for joining us. It's always a pleasure. We always come out smarter when we talk to you for our episodes. Can you tell the folks how they can get a hold of you and your stuff and what you're doing?
Yeah, really excited to start to really dive into our previews on the Just Baseball show. Going to get you primed up for every single division, every single league or both leagues, and get you ready to go. So you know everything you need to know. But I will be singing some praises for the Rays. I think Ryan Pepiot's going to have a big year, and I'll talk about that in our Rays preview. But also prospect content, prospect interviews on the call up, and then also justbaseball.com is where you can find tons of articles with a really, really talented staff of writers putting out great stuff, whether it's feature interviews from the stadium or just, again, more information to get you ready to go for the season. But I always appreciate you guys having me on. It's always a blast to talk ball with you guys. And hopefully we don't go as long next time, because I'm always happy to come on and hang out with you guys.